interpreting the human experience with all its angles and all its dimensions and using all the theories and tools we have at our disposal suddenly became very interesting with AI and all the advances in science and research and every discussions on social media and everywhere else. That's why we need nowadays what I call hermeneutic telescopes. Well, it's actually just a metaphor to see beyond the logos. Something I posted recently on X and other social media yesterday, I think. But what I want to get at is that we need to see beyond the logos. We need to see beyond the surface, and that's something that we often do, or at least we try to do, when we are learning a language or learning about other cultures, whether it is just for speaking the language or for interacting with other people and to understand that the cultural treasures are there. Nowadays, we live with an amplified reach through the web. We can reach the entire planet, all the cultures, and pretty much everyone, and it gives the illusion that everything is accessible. However, quick reach doesn't equal understanding substance, and when we talk to other people, we are trying to understand them, and we want them to understand us, and that implies understanding the substance, the cultural substance of the person, the cultural persona. When we are speaking to someone in our language, in our country, in our community, it's something that, well, it's already done. We understand the different levels existing in the communication. However, it is not the same when we are learning language, when we are learning about other cultures. So this is a notion that you need to integrate in your language journey. So this is why understanding the other implies language learning in the traditional sense. You need to understand and learn the language, learn to understand how to speak it as well. You need to also adopt cultural attitudes. It is not a matter of just stop being yourself. It's simply understanding that in a different cultural set, you're going to become someone else in order to understand how to interact properly. And then you have to be, in not to understand the other, you have to be able to imitate and replicate like a chameleon, actually. This is something very curious because you would say, well, but why should I be able to imitate and replicate? I mean, it would be genuine, but it is not that. It is that we are a species that our communication is essential, and in order for it to be effective or for it to feel natural, we need to be at the same level of other people, and the best way to do that is by replicating, emulating, and imitating how they speak, how they act, how they move. So it's a very you have to, in some sense, connect to a more animal way of communicating, not only logically, which you will find in grammar, syntax, and so on. You have to see beyond those grammatical patterns and linguistic patterns. You have to see the behavioral patterns as well. That's why it requires also, understanding the other and having cultural intelligence. It requires work of deconstruction and reconstruction, but it is a voluntary and willing deconstruction. You know who you are, you know what your mother tongue is, and you know everything about yourself. But what you do in this case is that momentarily you deconstruct the way you see the world and you reconstruct through the culture you're studying and the language you are studying. It is a very interesting process because it's like you're playing with Legos actually. Like you have the building blocks and then you deconstruct the house or the structure that you have, and then you rebuild it again in a different way. And this is what you do with language, what you do with culture, with cultural references and cultural patterns. And this is essential for you to integrate in the entire structure of the other language and the other culture. And for this, of course, you need empathy, detachment, and non-judgment. You need, of course, empathy. It's the more than becoming someone who's nice and who's gentle and who is cool. And it's more about facilitating the process of feeling fine with other people who don't share your initial cultural background. It helps. Feeling fine with people, of course, it helps to um, understand the language and see it more or less like a game, and it comes more naturally like that. You need detachment, because if you're still attached to your culture, to your language, and to your worldview, you won't integrate the other. So this is a conscious work. You need to do it all the time. You need to take the other and act like the other. It's a The detachment is a way of saying, well, in this moment I'm not myself. I'm trying to be someone else, and I'm trying to be like the others, but not like imitating them in a bad way, like denying what you are. More like I am much more than what I was initially. It's more or less like that. So if your mother tongue is French or English, and then you want to learn Spanish, you say, well, Spanish is a part of me as well. It's just getting at it little by little. So it's more or less like that. And of course, not judgment, because if you have a judgmental view of a language and the culture, you won't get that as easy as that. The judgment will bias your view of everything you're experiencing, and you will be focusing the culture and the language to the people you have in front of you. So you have to learn how to you have to learn to have you have to avoid judgment in this case. And of course, the integration of cultural views. In this case, what you will do is that you won't be replacing a cultural view for the other. You're going to integrate yours with the new ones, and that will allow you to have a wider system of references, a wider system for acting, for speaking, for thinking. It will help you with empathy, also with communication cues and hints and strategies as well. I think this is something that is often neglected when we are learning about cultural views and cultural models. You integrate them, and it gives you new strategies and new methods and new tools to communicate better. So this is something you cannot neglect. It is very, very good, actually. And for me, is one of the elements that would motivate me to become more culturally intelligent, actually. And this is why, well, of course, I'm presenting this video to talk about the idea that I'm having. I'm working, started working on this yesterday, I think. I grabbed my notebook and I have some notes. I'm working on it. Working on the cultural intelligence compass, and it will be like a document in which I will be gathering information about this whole process and how it will help you to the integration of cultural views, as I was saying previously. Because I think that in a hyperconnected world like we have nowadays, in a world where AI machines can talk, we need to understand the culture of the other. We need to integrate the culture of the other and create wider systems in which we act profoundly and with better hermeneutic telescopes, to say it in some way, with a better, more beautiful interpretation of reality and of the human experience. We are needing that. We need art. We need reflection. We need better creations in this moment. So I think languages are the best tool for it, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. So, of course, having cultural intelligence will help you to understand many things and to see the world for what it is, an interconnected web. You only do this if you learn about the other, how the other thinks. So be strategic, be intelligent, be culturally intelligent, and well, I will be giving you more information about this soon. So see you later. Bye-bye.